Equanimity is a word that is often used in mindfulness and meditation circles, but what exactly does it mean, and why is it so important? In this video, I'll explore what equanimity is and how it can help us to feel more balanced in our lives. Hi, I'm Felipe from Mind Owl. Here we talk about how meditation, philosophy, and psychology can help you live a happier and more peaceful life. Equanimity is not a word we use in everyday conversation, but it's an important concept in mindfulness and meditation. That's why it's important to understand what it really means and address some of the common misconceptions about it. Because of its association with calmness and reduced reactivity, equanimity is sometimes confused with the suppression of feelings, apathy, passivity, or inexpressiveness. However, we should really view it as the opposite of suppression or avoidance. Equanimity comes from the Latin word equus, that means balanced, and it refers to a state of calmness, tranquility, and, of course, balance. It's about being free from judgments, prejudices, disturbances. It's a quality of the mind that allows us to relate to our experience with openness, clarity, and a degree of ease. Meditation teacher Shinzen Yang describes this as radical non-interference with the natural flow of sensory experience. But just saying that equanimity means balance or non-interference doesn't really help us to practice it, so let's explore that a little bit further. Balance refers to not going to extremes. For example, a scale is perfectly balanced when the two sides are equal. We can lose balance in our bodies if we go to extremes in our posture or movement. So, in the same way, a person who is out of balance loses internal stability if they shift more towards one of those two states. Suppression, a thought or feeling arises, and we try to deal with it by suppressing it, by denying it, or distracting ourselves from it. Or identification, a thought or feeling arises, and we fixate on it. We cling to it at all costs, not letting it go away in its natural flow. So over-suppressing or over-identifying are both examples of going to extremes in our emotional life. And equanimity means finding the middle path, the sweet spot between those two extremes. This means that rather than interfering with the natural flow of our subjective perception of life, we should just accept the thoughts, emotions, and experiences that arise, letting them pass without getting attached to them. When you have emotions in the body, you don't push them down, but you don't attach yourself to them either. Equanimity is not passivity. But doesn't this all sound a little passive? Many people worry that if they become too accepting of their experience, they will become apathetic and won't care about anything in life. But the truth is quite opposite. When we are able to find that balance, it actually allows us to be more present for the experiences we are having and feel things more deeply. Acting with equanimity does not mean giving up or resigning ourselves to external circumstances that can cause you suffering. And it doesn't mean approaching life with a kind of dry neutrality. Rather, it's about accepting those circumstances as things that you can't control and using that realization to stop yourself from wasting time and effort trying to change them. When you stop resisting, you have more energy available for other positive pursuits. Showing equanimity towards various events in life means that we are willing to experience both the pleasant and unpleasant aspects of life as they are. That is a sign that we are deeply engaged and committed to our life, not that we are indifferent to it. How do we develop equanimity? Now that a few concepts about equanimity have been clarified, you might be wondering, How can we develop this quality? After all, it sounds great in theory, but it's much harder to put this into practice. You've probably noticed that meditation is the most effective way for cultivating equanimity. When we observe our thoughts and emotions with mindfulness, we create a space between ourselves and those things that we normally react automatically. This allows us to see things more clearly and avoid the two natural instant reactions of suppression and identification. Other than a mindfulness practice, there are a few things that we can do in our everyday life to help develop equanimity. Practice acceptance. One of the key components of equanimity is acceptance. It's natural to resist things that we don't like or that cause us pain, but if we can learn to go with the flow and accept things as they are, it will be much easier to find that balance. Despite our preferences, life will always be a mix of pleasant and unpleasant experiences. Learning to accept this fact will help us to develop equanimity, as we won't be battling against reality all the time. So make it a practice to constantly ask yourself, what am I resisting right now? Can I let go of this resistance? Just remember that to accept something doesn't mean that you are happy about it. It just means that you are not resisting it. Develop a non-judgmental attitude. When we can see things without judgment, it's much easier to respond to them in a balanced way. If we are constantly judging our experiences as good or bad, then it's only natural that we'll want to hold on to the good ones and get rid of the bad ones. But if we can just observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment, we can start to see them as neutral events that are just happening, rather than something that we have to hold on or to push away. Expand your awareness. When we experience something intense that is either too good or too bad, it's easy to get lost in it and become completely wrapped up in that one thing. We experience what is called tunnel vision, where we can only see one thing and everything else falls away. But if we can expand our awareness and take in the whole picture, we can see that there is much more to life than just that one thing. This will help us to maintain a sense of perspective and not to get caught up in the ups and downs of life. Cultivate positive emotions. Positive emotions don't just happen when we do something pleasurable. They can also be cultivated. You can do this by practicing gratitude, loving kindness, forgiveness, compassion. When we have a strong foundation of positive emotions, it's much easier to respond to life's challenges with equanimity. These practices help us to connect with our positive emotions and develop them so they become more accessible to us when we need them. I hope that now you have a better understanding of what equanimity is and why it's so important. So make it a practice to develop this quality in your life. See if you are leaning towards suppression or identification in your reactions. Ask what are you resisting right now, and see if you can let it go. Observe your thoughts and emotions without judgment, expand your awareness, and cultivate positive emotions. I'm sure you'll see a big difference in your life. Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to like it and subscribe to our channel. I'll see you in the next one.